What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. In this one, it's team selection time for Game Week 3. So we're going to take a look at how Game Week 2 went, then take a look at Game Week 3. 2 free transfers, lots of different combinations of players. Lukaku's obviously on my mind, and then it's whether we go for Calvert-Lewin. There's price drops, there's price rises. Son is someone I talked about before, and yet now I'm not even barely thinking about him. But why is that? So we're going to talk about all that in this video. There's a lot to cover, including captaincy, which isn't even straightforward either. So if you enjoy it, do give it a like, hit that subscribe button if you're new around here, and let's jump into it. So Game Week 2 was pretty decent, 78 points. To follow up a 100-pointer with a 78-pointer and basically get another green arrow straight away to 208k. Very happy with that. Again, I said last week, if you got a top 500,000 Game Week rank every single week, you would win FPL. So to get that a couple of weeks in a row, very happy with that, right? So can't complain too much, but of course I'm an FPL manager, so I'm going to complain a little bit. I let Gundogan drop in price, and I think it's easy to sit here now and say that was a mistake. Obviously, Greenwood went and scored, who a lot of people went for, and I did consider him. My main issue was, and I'm not really helped this week with 2 free transfers, but I didn't quite know the route I wanted to go with the transfers, and I didn't want to make too many kind of, not necessarily knee-jerk decisions, but big decisions based on one game week, right? And as soon as I knew that Gundogan was probably going to play against Norwich, I felt like I had to keep him at that point. So I wouldn't put that down as a massive mistake. Obviously, it's literally a mistake. I literally should have gone to Greenwood because he scored 10 points and Gundogan blanked. But I'm not even sure if I'm going to go for Greenwood this week, right? So if I'd gone for him, that would have spoiled the transfer plans for this week, etc. So I'm not too bothered about it. Mahrez was a huge... That benching, like, that hurt. I gotta be honest, I really thought he was going to start. It does kind of make my decisions a little bit easier this week in terms of getting rid of him, but I really thought he was going to start. When he scored, that was absolute relief. By the time he scored, I was like, if he gets an assist, I'll be happy at this point. So to get a goal, really happy with that, and obviously he came on late, so to get that was decent. Benrahma and Antonio, what a ridiculous start to the season for those two. Obviously helped a little bit by the fact that Leicester went down to 10 men, but I would say that West Ham were the better team even before that anyway. So I'm not saying they would have scored 16 and 12 points, but I do think both of them could have returned either way. Luke Shaw getting a couple of bonus points even though he conceded was probably well deserved. If you watch that game, Man United created a lot of chances. They should have won the game. Luke Shaw in particular created a lot of big chances, or at least chances that you would have expected something good to come from. So to come away with 4 points was decent. And Tsimikas and Trent Alexander-Arnold, both absolute legends. Double returns from them, obviously clean sheet and the assist. So overall, it was a really good week, right? Next week's going to be a bit more difficult because there's price rises, there's price drops, there's captaincy issues, and I've got 2 free transfers. But for Game Week 2, very happy. Let's just talk about one more thing and then we'll see how things are looking for Game Week 3. Okay, so this is just going to be really quick, right? This isn't a sponsorship or anything like that, but I have been nominated for Best in Fantasy Football for Video at the Football Content Awards. Now, I'm still in 2 minds about whether I should even like go on about this or ask you to vote for me or anything like that. I didn't do it the last couple of seasons. I only mentioned it once and that was it. But I thought, because you've got me nominated, right, and big thanks to everyone that's voted so far, I thought I would mention it just to, 1, say thanks, and 2, if you want to go and vote for me or anyone else in the fantasy football categories, there's one for video, podcast and editorial, you can do so at the link I'll put probably in the description or in a pinned comment in the comments below, right, how you can go and vote if you want to. So big thanks to everyone that's voted so far. Don't worry, I'm not going to go on and on about this in every single video I do between now and the awards or whenever the votes close. I'm not even sure when that is, but just to say thanks, and if you want to vote for me, if you enjoy the content, link in the description or the comments below. Right, I think I'm going to go through the kind of defenders, midfielders and forwards quite quick because there's going to have to be some tinkering, right? I've got 2 free transfers, my squad value has gone up, I've got nothing in the bank, and my defence is looking fine, right? Sanchez got a clean sheet, it's what we expected from Brighton. I actually don't think that's going to be an easy game for Everton at all, right? Could I see Sanchez get a clean sheet? Possibly. Like, Calvert-Lewin is looking good right now, getting plenty of shots off as well. But I think it will be difficult for Everton. So I'm happy with Sanchez. Obviously, I'm not moving a goalkeeper on until wildcard. And even then, I might just keep Sanchez, to be honest. Because there's not too many other 4.5s I'd even look at. Maybe the Brentford keeper, but I wouldn't, make that change based on 2 games. Shaw and Trent, really happy with. I think... Look, there is some discussion around whether you could get rid of Trent for the next couple of game weeks, Chelsea and Leeds, but his attacking threat is just so good. And I think that Chelsea game will be quite tight. Are either of them going to want to just go for it and leave them themselves exposed at the back? I'm not so sure. I mean, Tuchel's a great manager. Chelsea are a great team. There's every chance that they will score. But I just think Trent is so good. I've literally got no interest in moving them on. I just think the fixtures are so good. I mean, Leeds, yes, they could score against Liverpool as well. So potentially, if I'm saying the next two, there's no clean sheets, you could get rid of him. But I think when I make my transfers, especially early on in the season, yes, I'm looking for maybe some short-term returns because of an early wildcard or to jump on some price rises. But I also want to concentrate on the players that are problems in my team, essentially, and Trent just doesn't strike me as a problem, so he'll stay. I think Luke Shaw, I'm really glad he got the bonus points in the last game, because I don't think Man United have been bad enough where Shaw comes out of the first two games with no clean sheet. There was their absolute banger from Ayling in the first game. Obviously, second game against Southampton conceded as well, but it was a deflected shot that was off target, right? Because it went down as an own goal. So I think he's been a bit unlucky, and I think the next few fixtures are good for Man United, and he's very attacking as well. He's allowing Paul Pogba to come in centrally, so really happy. And I think this is why I chose Ayling and Veltman, because they rotate quite well. Obviously, I've not needed either of them so far because I've had Simicast, but he's going on the bench because I'm assuming that Robertson's going to start. He said he's been training, etc., so it looks pretty good for him. And I think Ayling against Burnley is okay. I have got a problem with Veltman from Game Week 4. I'm not 100% confident that he gets straight back into the side. We don't even know if he's going to be fit and available, first of all. But even then, he's not played any games this season yet. Will he just be thrown straight in? I don't know. I'm not as confident as other people, so that might be a problem. But I just think with Ayling against Burnley, look, Leeds' defence is not good, but if they can keep a clean sheet against anyone, then hopefully it would be someone like Burnley. So I've got to play him, and I'm probably going to leave my bench for this week. I'm running a risk that if anyone doesn't play in my team, I'm kind of screwed because no one's going to come off that bench, almost certainly. But I just want to put it off one more week until Game Week 4. And then even then, I might not make a defensive or a transfer on defence if Veltman's back and fit. So there's a lot riding on that. But for now, I'm probably just going to stick with these and not make a bench transfer. Right, so midfield, there's a lot to unpack here, and I've obviously got 2 free transfers. I'm no way in a position where I can burn a transfer this week, so I have to make one. Midfield is probably where it's going to be, at least one, maybe 2. I just want to quickly touch on the international break situation, right? Because it's been talked about a lot. A lot of people have asked me to do videos on this, like separate ones to the ones I'm doing, but I feel like talking about it every day in videos makes more sense than doing one video on it, because things are changing quite quickly, and I'm not even sure we're going to know for sure what's happening before the deadline. You'd hope that the Premier League and FIFA would figure it out, but there aren't many days to go. So the Premier League put out a statement and said that all Premier League clubs had unanimously decided to not send players to red-listed countries. And it's not just about quarantining and missing matches, but they're saying it's also about their physical well-being, etc., right? That's fine. So at that point, you're thinking, right, I can just bring anyone into my team, happy days. But then FIFA are not happy about it. They've released a statement saying there'll be consequences. And one thing that that the Athletic is saying could be a punishment is that players would be banned from playing for the international window, which would run till September 9th. Now, straight away, you're thinking that's fine because the games are on the 11th, 12th, and 13th. But then it says plus a further 5 days. So that would mean they'd miss Game Week 4 anyway. And if that happens, then suddenly, okay, you're probably not going to go out and rush to sell Liverpool players, but potentially they could miss Chelsea, and then they could miss Game Week 4. They'd have Chelsea, which isn't a good game, and then they'd miss Game Week 4 potentially. So it still could have pretty big knock-on effects in terms of what we do. So Athletic said this would exclude them from the games on the weekend of September 11th and 12th. They could also risk further disciplinary action from FIFA. Now, the Premier League's big, of course, but so is FIFA, right? So this isn't over yet. I don't think anyone's made a mistake by making transfers, but if you can hold on until the last minute, it might not be the worst thing to do because it could change our whole transfer strategy. That being said, I'm going to continue talking about this as if players are not going to miss Game Week 4, right? And I don't think it would make me change my mind a huge amount anyway. I'd possibly not take a hit if that was the case, but yeah, right now I'm going to talk as if that's not happening, right? So Salah I'm keeping against Chelsea because he's got really good fixtures afterwards. I don't want to start chopping and changing. Benrahma obviously stays in as well. We don't need to talk about them. And Fernandes as well. Now, just really quickly on the captaincy, I'm not fully decided. Before the season started, Son was going to be my captain in Game Week 3. And if I had him now and he was fit, then I would probably do it. But one thing I would recommend, and I put this up on my Patreon page today, you've got to plan kind of not long term, right? You don't need to worry about game week 10, 11, 12 just yet, but over the next few weeks you need to kind of have an idea of what direction you want to go in terms of structure, in terms of where your money is, whether it's up front, in midfield, whether it's 3-4-3, 3-5-2, because whatever you do this week is going to dictate what you do next week and then what you do in game week 5, etc. So for me now, I could still bring Son in. How would I do it? I'd probably do Mahrez and Gundogan to Sarr or Harrison plus Son if I didn't want to take a hit, or if I wanted to protect a bit of team value, I would do Mahrez and Gundogan to Rafinha and Son, and I would fund it by doing Veltman down. I don't know, Veltman down to Duffy, probably, maybe Livramento, something like that. So that's one move I could do. But then next week, how do I get to Jimenez or Calvert-Lewin or Bamford or someone like that if I want to put a bit more money up front? Well, the way to do it would be to take Son out. And then I've got to shift the funds to forward, which means 2 transfers. So that's another hit next week. And that is why I'm not 100% sold on getting Son back this week, because I just think I'm not going to captain him after that for a little while. And game week 7, I think, was the only other week that I mentioned before. And in that week, we're all going to own Lukaku as well, who's playing Southampton at home. So I don't think Son is as much of an issue now for me as he possibly was. But I do think he's a great captain, so that is playing on my mind. So right now it's on Fernandes, but I might switch to Antonio. We'll talk about that in a second. Obviously, I'll do the captaincy video as well. So the other couple of moves I could do, and I'm pretty much going to take out Gundogan and Mahrez, because even if they play, I know it's a good fixture. I'm not going to be 100% confident they do unless Pep says anything. We might get early team sheets on Saturday. So if I haven't made my transfers till Saturday, I might risk it. And if I see that Mahrez is starting, I could possibly keep him. My issue is I think Gundogan and Mahrez might drop. If not this week, then next week. And because it's international break, if they drop early, that's either going to force me into an early move or I'm going to lose the money anyway. So I'm probably going to take them out. My options are the Son move that I just said. I could change them both out for Greenwood and Rafinha, and then next week have enough money for Calvert-Lewin in for Tony. That's an option. Or I can just shift and get Calvert-Lewin or Bamford this week by doing Mahrez and Gundogan to someone like, I don't know, Gilmore and Rafinha, and then change Parika for Calvert-Lewin or Bamford. And then I'd still have enough money left over, like 1.8 million or something, if I wanted to move Tony on that week. So Mahrez and Gundogan are almost certainly going. I could just do one move, Gundogan to Rafinha, and go into next week with 2 free transfers if Mahrez is starting. That's something that I will consider. My biggest question mark, I guess, like while I'm thinking out loud, is still around Greenwood. Right? How long is he going to keep his place in the team for? And I know a lot of people are confident that he's just not going to lose it. I'm not that confident after the next 2 game weeks. I've said all along, 3 to 4 game weeks, you're fine with him. And then it's like, does Cavani come in? Does Sancho play on the right? Does Pogba come central? I think Pogba coming central depends a lot on what Man United purchase in the transfer market. If they get a new defensive midfielder, they might bring Pogba more central, but that's not a guarantee. It's also not a guarantee that the defensive midfielder comes in straight away either. So Pogba could keep playing on the left. Sancho's got to keep playing at some point, right? He's not going to be out of the team on the bench for the rest of the season. And then it leaves Greenwood, Martial, Cavani all playing for that number 9 spot. And Greenwood's playing really well. Martial played poorly against Southampton. So I'm definitely not sitting here saying that Greenwood is going to lose his place, but not, at least not for the next 2 weeks. But my thinking is, what about after that? And maybe if I'm wildcarding soon, it doesn't matter. Or like soon enough, like game week 7, game week 8, something like that. But also, if he does lose his place, who do I move to in midfield? There aren't too many players around that price point that I like. And I just think if it's a choice between Greenwood or a Bamford, Jimenez, Calvert-Lewin, all of which are on penalties, by the way, that probably is the better long-term play. But for Wolves away and Newcastle at home, I do like Greenwood. So as you can tell, I'm a little bit all over the place. But let's get the forwards up and I'll talk some more. Okay, so Antonio obviously stays. Then it's Tony, right? I still stick with what I said on the transfer tips video. I think Tony is perfectly fine to keep this week, even if it means eating the price drop if you've got other stuff to do. But at the same time, I also don't mind selling him this week. A lot of people would have made a move to Calvert-Lewin mostly, maybe some other strikers as well. And I don't think for the sake of potentially saving 0.2 million, because Calvert-Lewin will go up to 8.2 before the deadline, and Tony might drop, right? It depends how many more transfers he has out, but he could drop in price. That's a 0.2 swing for a transfer that you might do anyway. Now, if I'm thinking about it, like I said earlier, Calvert-Lewin against Brighton or Tony against Villa, I think Tony's got the easier fixture, even if Calvert-Lewin is the better player, obviously playing in the better team as well. So it's a tough one, but I'm not like 100% sold on having to sell him this week. But to be honest, I think after all that talk, I'm just going to have to do some tinkering to show you kind of what's on my mind. Because even bringing in like Calvert-Lewin and then bringing in Bamford next week, well, Bamford plays Liverpool. I'm not going to want to make that move. So it might mean that I'm stuck with Toney for another week, or I have to shift to Jimenez, who I'm not 100% sold on. So I know what you're thinking. You're not really helping. I know. I'm all over the place this week, but let's do some tinkering and I'll kind of at least show you what I'm thinking about. So yeah, this has definitely been one of those videos where I'm just mostly talking out loud about why I like one option and why I might not go for them this week. And hopefully that helps with your thinking. Like, there are going to be weeks and I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to get this guy in, right? Game week 7, Lukaku, yeah, I'm getting him in just like everybody else, whether it's a wild card or a transfer. But this week is more difficult. So this is how it's set up right now. So again, 2 free transfers, obviously, right? Don't need to go through that again. So Mahrez and Gundogan out gives Greenwood and Rafinha. And I do like Rafinha, again, if he's going to play in Game Week 4. I know it's against Liverpool, but I can't really have players missing out as it stands. That gives me 2.3 million in the bank. So even if Toney drops and Calvert-Lewin goes up, I can still afford it. Obviously, I don't want to lose all that money because that will be helpful down the line for other transfers. But that is something I could do. I could also just do the move this week, right, and take the hit. Protect the team value and take the hit. I'm not completely against that. What that does then is it locks me into a 3-5-2. So Trent, Shaw, plus one of my other defenders, maybe a transfer in next week. The 5 in midfield, and Calvert-Lewin and Antonio. Now, when I think about forget about Lukaku for a second because of his price. When I think about other forwards that I might want to buy soon, Danny Ings, no. Once Brentford's done, not interested. There's not too many others, really. I mean, Wilson's potentially an option. You could say that Jimenez and Bamford are the other options. So that is my key question at this point. Who is better, Greenwood or Bamford or Jimenez as an option? And if I come off Greenwood, where do I go? I've got 0.7 million, so Grealish could come in, for example. I could go down to a 7, 6.5, another 6 to get another minute. Like I could go down to Sarr and get 1.6 million to spend. Don't know who on right now, but there are options there if I wanted to upgrade the defence, for example. And also, this gives me like I said, a 0.7 buffer right now. It could be 0.5 by the time that the price changes happen. But that would let me upgrade Veltman if he's not an issue. If he is an issue next week. So that's one way of doing it. The other way is to keep Toney. Like I said, I've kind of already spoken about this, but just to show you how it's going to work, Gilmore in is the 4.5, and then I just changed Parika to a 9.9 million. So again, this could be any forward. Now, I actually think if I'm going to go for Bamford and Calvert-Lewin, I think it's actually better to get Bamford in this week because I think he's got a better fixture. I just think he's got a better fixture than Calvert-Lewin does, playing Burnley. So I can do that. Then I've got 1.9 million to spend. That let me do Toney to Calvert-Lewin with an 8.4 buffer. Again, by the time Toney drops in price and Calvert-Lewin goes up, that could be dead on the money, right? So that could be a bit of an issue next week. I don't think I would take a -8. But do you see what I mean? Like if I go Calvert-Lewin this week, he's playing against Brighton, then I'd have to bring in Bamford against Liverpool. So realistically, I just keep Toney or swap him to Jimenez instead. And possibly that's an option because Jimenez's fixtures from Game Week 4 are really good. But I'm just not completely sold on it, right? So that's another way. Get Calvert-Lewin in for a hit this week and switch to a 3-4-3 and still have money to upgrade Toney. And if I want to keep Toney in Game Week 4, which is a possibility, I think it's Brighton at home, I could then use that money on defence. So that's another way of doing it. The only other real option is to just forget about Rafinha, keep Gundogan, and just swap straight from Mahrez to Calvert-Lewin and just go for a 4.5 million midfielder. So basically anyone. We'll just put anyone in from here. We'll put Shackleton in. And then obviously you switch to Calvert-Lewin up front. So you're still playing 3-4-3. And it's not a hit, but it means playing Gundogan against Arsenal. And then next week, I'm going to be in exactly the same position where if I want to upgrade Toney, I've got to sell Gundogan for a hit anyway. So I feel like I should just do it this week and protect the team value. So ultimately, long and the short is Gundogan and Rafinha are probably going. I just don't know if it's for Greenwood and Rafinha or if it's for Calvert-Lewin and then get Jimenez or Bamford in next week, or just take a hit and do all of them this week. Just get Calvert-Lewin in for Toney, get Greenwood, get Rafinha. I'm just not 100% sold. I really don't think I'm going to make a defensive transfer. Like, Veltman's going to drop in price, but so are a bunch of my other players as well. And if he's back from Game Week 4, like, he's just a really good option. Like, I've already been on, like, the transfer planner and having to play him against Brentford, Palace, Norwich. I mean, they're all away games, which isn't ideal, but they're all good fixtures. And I think just Brighton are good enough to keep him in the team. So, yeah. I don't know if that helped you or if it helped me at all, but I've spoken out loud. That's where I'm at. I don't think I'm going to get Son, because once I do that, I just close off all my other options. So Son would come in probably for Rafinha. Probably with Rafinha, I'd probably take a hit. Let me just get Rafinha in quick. Let's just finish this off. I'm 0.1 down because of Gundogan dropping. Hugely frustrating, but it is what it is. So Veltman down to like a Livramento or a Duffy probably, because I think Duffy might keep his place in the short term. But then what do I do with Tony? I'm stuck with him then unless I go down to like a 6 million, or like I said at the start, I swap Son down. So yeah, big problems. I'm probably going to go. I feel like Rafinha is definitely coming in for me this week. I just don't know what the other combination is. There we go. That is it for this one. In what has been already a headache-inducing week, and we've still got a few days to go. I think for me, I'm kind of, like I said, I'm narrowed down on most of the players that I want to target. I just don't know what in order I want to bring them in. And obviously, Greenwood is still causing me a few problems. I don't know if I'm overthinking that one a little bit. But if you have enjoyed that, if you've in any way found it helpful, do give it a like and hit that subscribe button if you're new around here. I'll have the game week preview and captaincy and stuff ready to come later on this week. And obviously, we'll have a deadline stream on Saturday as well. If you haven't already checked out the Football Content Awards and you want to vote for me, there'll be a link, like I said, in the description, or maybe in the comment section as well. I'll pin one there. And obviously, don't forget to check out Patreon as well. There's a link in the description below if you haven't already signed up and you want to give it a go and see what it's all about. So I'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. One of those where my head's all over the place, but hopefully it did help in some way. Give it a like if it did. Hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you again soon.